Welcome to Starbound. My name's Aram, and I'll be your narrator today. Nearly 500 supporters get early access to our stories, including brand new episodes of Sunspire Academy and Freyrin and Remike. If you'd like to unlock early access and support new episodes and future series, tap Join below to become a Starbound member. Now, let's get into today's story. The universe had a drinking problem, and the slouching singularity was its favorite dive bar. The humble bar was squatted on the corner of Desperation Avenue and Last Chance Boulevard like a tumor that had given up on malignancy and decided to serve drinks instead. All that to say, it was an ugly growth in an otherwise well-kept area that attracted suspicious characters like flies to infection. Its neon sign flickered between open, condemned, and occasionally help in 17 different languages. The establishment had survived 3 health inspections, 2 religious crusades, and 1 attempt at gentrification, mostly because the inspectors, crusaders, and gentrifiers all ended up drunk at the bar, questioning their life choices. Felix Trench hunched deeper into his survival cloak, a glorified space blanket he'd stolen from an emergency pod 3 weeks ago, and tried to become one with the grimy corner booth. The cloak had seen better days. Hell, it had seen better apocalypses. But it hid his face, muffled his voice, and, most importantly, made him look like just another questionable life decision in a bar full of them. The fluorescent cocktail in front of him glowed like radioactive antifreeze and tasted worse. He'd ordered water. The bartender, a gelatinous cube named Blorg, or was it Glorg? Felix couldn't tell through the tentacle lisp, had given him this instead and charged him 40 credits.
His compliment,
Blorg had gurgled through what Felix assumed was a smile, but could have been indigestion.
wasn't his for die lonely. This
17 eye stalks had focused on the drink with pride.
may not kill you.
Felix took another reluctant sip. His tongue immediately filed for divorce from his mouth. Just blend in, Felix told himself, ignoring how his stomach gurgled ominously at the alien concoction. Don't make eye contact. Don't speak. Find a ship headed anywhere near Earth's quadrant and...
Kroklik, you festering waste of genetic material! You owe me money!
The voice cut through the bar's ambiance, a mix of 12 different species' ideas of music that somehow formed a melody best described as aggressively unpleasant. Felix risked a glance toward the commotion. A Virethi bounty hunter stood near the bar's excuse for a stage, where something that might have been entertainment or a medical emergency was occurring. The Virethi's fur was the color of dried blood, which complemented the fresh blood on her claws. She had the kind of scars that told stories, and all of them ended with, "And then I won." "Zara the Bloodclaw," someone whispered at the next table, the words carrying the weight of reputation and recent violence. "Heard she took down an entire collective battalion with nothing but a plasma knife and spite."
Heard she ate their commander,
another voice added. "That's ridiculous," a third chimed in. "She's vegetarian." Felix tried to shrink further into his cloak. He'd learned 3 universal truths in his accidental tour of the galaxy. Everyone had a reputation, most of them were exaggerated, and all of them ended with him accidentally on fire. Across from Zara, trying very hard to look like he wasn't calculating escape routes, sat Krokluk. The Graxian was built like someone had given a rhinoceros steroids, anger management issues, and just enough intelligence to be dangerous, but not enough to be wise. His hide was the gray of poor life choices, decorated with prison tattoos that probably meant something intimidating in Graxian, but looked suspiciously like a child's drawing of a destructive rainbow.
Zara, baby, sweetheart, light of my existence.
Krokluk rumbled, his voice like gravel in a blender.
You know I'm good for it. Just had some temporary cash flow situations.
You bet your ship on a race between cybernetic snails!
Zara interrupted, her tail lashing in a way that suggested violence was imminent and probably recreational.
And lost!
They were very fast snails.
They were dead! The race hadn't started yet. It was scheduled for next month.
I may have misunderstood the rules.
Zara's sigh could have stripped paint. She turned to Kroklook's companions, two thugs who looked like the universe's attempt at creating the perfect generic henchman. One appeared to be held together entirely by scar tissue and questionable decisions. The other had replaced so many body parts with cybernetics that he was less a person and more a philosophy about what constituted life.
Grax?
She addressed scar tissue, who flinched.
Still making bad choices, I see.
It's a living.
Grax mumbled, suddenly fascinated by his drink.
And mechanical mistake.
She turned to the cyborg, whose name was actually Dave, but no one called him that anymore.
How's the new liver?
Which one? Dave asked, then hiccuped. Something inside him sparked. Doc says I should stop drinking. I told him to install another filter.
Of course you did.
Zara's attention swept across the bar with the casual awareness of someone who'd survived too much to be caught off guard. Her gaze landed on Felix's corner, lingered for a moment on the hooded figure nursing a glowing drink, then dismissed him as another poor fool trying to drink away bad decisions. Felix allowed himself a tiny sigh of relief. That's when his translator decided to have an existential crisis. The device, a small bug-like thing that clung to his ear like a desperate remora, had been his first purchase after getting stranded. He'd bought it from a vendor who'd assured him it was mostly functional and hardly ever causes seizures anymore. Felix, desperate to understand why everyone kept pointing and screaming when he asked for directions, had overlooked the obvious red flags. The translator sputtered, wheezed, and then began translating everything into interpretive dance descriptions.
Pay me by tomorrow, or I'll...
Zara made an aggressive twirling followed by downward stabbing motion to finish her point. Felix closed his eyes. This was fine. He didn't need to understand the conversation. He just needed to finish his probably poison, find someone heading to Earth's general vicinity, and not die. Simple goals for a simple barista who'd made the mistake of taking public transportation in New Jersey during a test of something called a quantum tunnel.
That's him!
The shout cut through the bar's ambient chaos like a plasma cutter through butter. Every head, tentacle, and sensory organ in the establishment swiveled toward Felix's corner. Kroklook stood, his massive frame knocking over several drinks and one patron who'd been leaning too close. His eyes, small, mean, and the color of poor judgment, locked onto Felix with a kind of recognition that never ended well.
The quiet one,
the Graxian growled, cracking knuckles that sounded like breaking concrete.
You could hide in my territory.
Felix's translator helpfully informed him that Kroklook had just performed aggressive jazz hands with murderous intent. Listen, Felix started, raising his hands in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace, but his translator suggested was interpretive water ballet, possibly arousing. I think there's been a misunderstanding.
You destroyed my cousin's operation on Hegemony Station.
Kroklook advanced, flanked by Grax and Dave, who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else but knew better than to abandon their boss. Felix's mind raced. Hegemony Station. 3 days ago, he'd been trying to find a bathroom and accidentally triggered a cascade failure in their gravity systems. By the time he'd found a toilet, which turned out to be someone's shrine, the station was experiencing what the news called aggressive architectural disagreement. That was an accident, Felix tried to explain, standing up slowly. His stomach, already unhappy with the glowing cocktail, lodged a formal complaint. "I just needed to." He stood up, his elbow knocked over the glowing drink. The liquid hit the table's exposed wiring, because of course this dive bar had exposed wiring. Sparks flew. Something important-looking started smoking. For a moment, everyone in the bar shared a collective thought. This seems bad. "Everybody down!" someone screamed. Felix couldn't tell who. Might have been him. The explosion that followed would later be described by survivors as biblically unnecessary. It started at Felix's table. Shane reacted through the bar's questionable electrical system, found the illegal weapons cache in the basement that everyone knew about but agreed to ignore, discovered the even more illegal antimatter still in the sub-basement that even Blorg had forgotten about, and kept finding new and creative ways to express itself architecturally. Felix, who had dropped to the floor at the first spark out of pure anxiety-driven reflex, army-crawled toward what he hoped was an exit. His cloak caught on broken glass, torn chairs, and someone's tentacle. "Sorry."
Watch it, mammal.
Around him, the bar transformed into a Michael Bay fever dream directed by someone with a grudge against physics. Zara, because of course she'd survived worse, had flipped a table for cover and was counting down on her fingers, watching the explosion patterns with professional interest.
Sequential detonation following the power grid,
She noted to no one in particular.
Whoever wired this place was either a genius or suicidal, possibly both.
Crocklook wasn't as analytical. The Graxian charged through the chaos, determined to reach Felix before the bar finished its ambitious remodel into a crater.
Quiet one! Face me!
A chandelier made of other, smaller chandeliers, because the slouching singularity had committed to its aesthetic, chose that moment to express its structural concerns by falling directly onto Crocklook. His last coherent thought before unconsciousness was,
He didn't even look at me when he did it.
"Boss!" Grax started toward his fallen employer, then reconsidered as another explosion suggested the basement had opinions about load-bearing walls. "Boss can probably handle it." Dave was already heading for the exit, various mechanical parts whirring in what sounded like electronic panic. "Screw this! I don't have insurance on half these organs!" By the time Felix tumbled out the back exit, covered in soot, glitter, the bar had also hosted a Xanaxian birthday party, and what he prayed wasn't sentient slime. Half of Vexar 9's entertainment district was discovering the domino effect of substandard building codes. He ran, not because he was guilty, but because he'd learned that staying to explain usually made things worse. In the aftermath, as emergency responders tried to figure out which fire to put out first, the regular fire, the chemical fire, the philosophical fire that questioned the nature of combustion, or the one that seemed to be burning in reverse, witnesses would swear they saw him walk away without looking back, that he'd stood in the center of the chaos, untouched and unmoved, before vanishing like smoke.
Did you see that?
A four-armed dealer whispered to his companion.
A quiet one. He destroyed Crocklook with a gesture. A drink became his weapon. He doesn't speak and leaves only ruin.
I heard he's from the Terran exile,
The companion replied.
the Death Worlders who were too dangerous for the galaxy. I heard he's collecting bounties on concepts. Last week he killed the idea of mercy. I heard.
The truth was Felix had tripped over a garbage can 3 blocks away, landed in what was definitely not garbage but wished it was, and was currently hiding behind a dumpster that was somehow more upscale than his apartment back on Earth. His translator, having given up on interpretive dance, was now translating everything into smell descriptions. "Oh, God," Felix wheezed, trying not to have his 17th panic attack of the week.
Oh God, oh God, oh God. Mom was right. I should have stayed in community college. Explore the world, Felix, I said. Take that federal job, Felix, I said. What's the worst that could happen with experimental transportation, Felix? This is what happens.
3 blocks away, Zara emerged from the wreckage, brushing ash from her fur with the casual air of someone for whom explosions were just another Thursday. She pulled out a communication device that looked like it had survived several wars and possibly started one.
Yeah, it's me,
she said to whoever answered.
The slouching singularity just had an aggressive remodel. No, I didn't start it. Would you believe it was one scrawny human in a ratty cloak?
She paused, listening.
No, I'm serious. Took out Kroklook and his whole crew without throwing a punch. Just knocked over a drink and...
Another pause.
I don't know how that works either.
She looked toward where Felix had fled, her enhanced vision catching the heat signature of one terrified human trying to become one with urban decay.
The quiet one,
she considered.
Maybe just the luckiest bastard in the galaxy. Either way.
Her tail swished thoughtfully.
Either way, he's interesting. And Kroklook owed me money. Guess I'll have to collect from his estate.
She paused.
What estate? The one that used to be the bar. Keep up.
In his hiding spot, Felix finally got his breath under control. His translator gave one last valiant effort, producing actual words.
System error. Please restart universe and try again.
Yeah, Felix muttered, pulling his cloak tighter.
You and me both, buddy.
He didn't know that 3 different recording devices had captured his walk away from the explosion. That, by morning, his hooded figure would be on every bounty board from here to the spiral's edge. That Kroklook's crew would swear they heard him whisper something about just beginning before detonating the bar with his mind. But the galaxy didn't care about truth. It cared about stories. And the story of the Quiet One had just begun. Besides, what Felix didn't know couldn't hurt him, right? Zara had been in the bounty hunting business for 15 years, which, in cat years, was... Actually, she had no idea. The Verethi didn't age like Earth cats, despite the physical similarities. They aged like wine. Specifically wine that could bench press a small spacecraft and had opinions about knife maintenance. She found her target 3 days after the Vexar 9 incident, though found was generous. Felix had essentially delivered himself to her by stumbling into the cargo hold of her ship while fleeing from what appeared to be a religious procession.
Please,
he gasped, pulling his hood back to reveal a face that was 40% anxiety, 60% exhaustion, and 100% not what she'd expected from the galaxy's most feared assassin.
I just need a ride. Anywhere. I have credits. Well, I have some credits. Okay, I have like 12 credits and a half a protein bar, but...
Zara's tail twitched, a sign of confusion her species shared with their Earth counterparts. This whimpering mess was the Quiet One? The ghost who toppled the hegemony station? The whisper that screamed? Her translator parsed his rapid-fire speech and helpfully provided,
I demand transportation. Your possessions are already mine.
Now that sounded more like it.
You're coming with me,
she said, hand on her plasma rifle.
But try anything and... Oh, thank God, yes, please, thank you.
Felix practically collapsed with relief. I mean, wait, where are we going? Actually, I don't care. Is it away from here? Then I'm in. Do you have any antacids? The stress is really getting to my... Her translator cheerfully interpreted.
Your threats amuse me. I will grant you the honor of serving my purposes. Prepare your medical bay for the inevitable casualties.
Zara's ears flattened. This was either the galaxy's greatest assassin maintaining his cover through method acting, or she'd accidentally kidnapped someone's anxious nephew. Either way, the bounty on the Quiet One would set her up for life.
Strap in,
she growled, sealing the cargo hold.
And keep the hood up. Your face is recognizable.
Felix pulled the hood back over his head, grateful for any instruction that involved less social interaction. Sure, yeah, no problem. Thanks again for... The ship lurched into hyperspace, cutting him off and sending his protein bar flying. It splattered against a panel that immediately started sparking.
What did you...
Zara spun around as alarms began blaring.
I'm sorry!
Felix scrambled to fix whatever he'd broken.
It was an accident. I'll clean it up. Do you have any paper towels or, like, the space equivalent of paper towels? Oh God, is that supposed to be on fire?
The translator, now functioning at peak chaos, announced,
Witness my power. Your ship burns at my command. The cleansing flame comes for all.
By the time Zara got the fire suppression system working, it took 3 tries because Felix kept accidentally activating other systems while trying to help. She was reconsidering everything she thought she knew about the Quiet One. Nobody this catastrophically inept could be a master assassin, which meant he was either the universe's greatest actor or something far more dangerous, someone with power he didn't even know he had. She watched him through the security feed as he sat in the cargo hold, hugging his knees and muttering what her translator insisted were
dark incantations of vengeful binding,
but sounded suspiciously like he was listing Earth coffee brands in order of preference.
What have I gotten myself into?
She wondered. In the galactic underworld, news traveled faster than light and got less accurate with each parsec. By the time word spread that the Quiet One had been captured by Zara the Bloodclaw, the story had evolved into a ridiculous, dramatic tale. The truth that Felix had spent the last hour trying to figure out how to use an alien toilet without accidentally ejecting himself into space would have been far less believable. Aboard Zara's ship, the inevitable consequence, she'd named it during her edgy phase and now couldn't afford the paperwork to change it, Felix had discovered the kitchenette.
You have coffee!
He held the canister like a holy relic.
Oh my God, actual coffee! Is this...
Wait, this can't be Earth coffee. The beans are purple. Why are the beans purple? You know what, I don't care. Purple coffee is still coffee. Zara watched from the doorway as he performed what could only be described as a caffeine-summoning ritual. He measured the grounds, adjusted the water temperature multiple times, and whispered what sounded like either prayers or threats to the machine. Her translator offered,
The ritual begins. The dark essence shall flow. Reality trembles before my brew.
You're really committed to this act,
she said. Felix looked up, confused. What act? Also, do you have any milk? Or what do you call it? Lactose-adjacent liquid?
The whole thing.
She gestured vaguely at him.
Silent assassin, destroyer of worlds, bringer of the quiet death.
I'm sorry, the what now? The coffee maker chose that moment to explode. Not a small explosion, not a reasonable, oops, too much pressure explosion. The kind of explosion that suggested the machine had been waiting its entire existence for this moment. Felix, operating on pure, coffee-deprived instinct, grabbed the carafe mid-explosion and somehow saved most of the coffee while the machine painted the kitchen in shades of mechanical violence. He stood there, singed and holding a carafe of purple coffee while the fire suppression system activated for the second time that day.
I just wanted coffee,
he said mournfully. The translator proclaimed,
I take what I want. Destruction is merely a side effect.
Zara's tail puffed to twice its normal size. No one grabbed superheated glass from an exploding machine bare-handed. The fact that he was now calmly pouring the salvaged coffee into a mug while his fingers should have been melting was concerning.
You're enhanced,
she breathed.
genetically modified. That's how you... Enhanced?
Felix took a sip and made a face. Oh, this is terrible. Really, truly awful. I'm gonna drink all of it. He took another sip. And no, not enhanced, just determined. You'd be amazed what the human body can do when caffeine is involved. She didn't believe him. Couldn't believe him. Because if he was telling the truth, if he was really just some random human with terrible luck and a coffee addiction, then the galaxy had been terrorizing itself over nothing. And that was somehow more terrifying than any assassin could ever be. The Arknari Syndicate's gift ship, ostentatious compensation, was, by any reasonable measure, too much ship. It had gold-plated hull panels, a chandelier in the engine room, and a throne that was also somehow a jacuzzi. I can't accept this, Felix said for the 9th time as the four-eyed diplomat continued what had to be the galaxy's longest gift-giving ceremony. Seriously, I don't even have a license. I don't think Earth licenses would transfer anyway. The Arknari's scent glands flared, releasing what Felix's malfunctioning biology sensors identified as eau de aggressive generosity, but was actually closer to soup de diplomatic desperation.
The Quiet One honors us with his humility, the diplomat proclaimed. See how he rejects material possessions. Truly his focus remains on the cleansing.
The what now? Felix looked desperately at Zara, who was enjoying this far too much. What cleansing? I haven't cleaned anything since...
He speaks in riddles.
Another Arknari practically vibrated with excitement.
The cleansing is metaphorical, or literal, or both. Such wisdom.
They'd been at this for 3 hours. The Arknari had intercepted them at a refueling station, insisting that the Quiet One accept their humble offering of a battleship that cost more than Earth's GDP. Felix had tried explaining that he couldn't fly it, didn't want it, and wouldn't know what to do with it. This had been interpreted as a test of their devotion.
Perhaps,
the lead diplomat ventured,
the Quiet One would honor us with a demonstration. Show us how you would use our gift to bring order to the galaxy.
Felix looked at the ornate control console, then at the expectant faces, then at Zara, who was definitely recording this for posterity.
Okay,
he said slowly. Which one is the on button? 15 minutes later, the ostentatious compensation was embedded in Vexar 9's third moon like the universe's most expensive lawn dart. Felix stood in the escape pod, staring at the flaming wreckage while the Arknari delegates wept with joy behind him.
Did you see?
One whispered.
He aimed for his secret military base.
What secret military? Felix started.
The precision. The message. Your moons are not safe. Your bases are not hidden. The Quiet One sees all.
I literally just mixed up the throttle and the parking brake, Felix protested. The translator helpfully conveyed,
Your comprehension of my message is irrelevant. The demonstration is complete.
By the time they made it back to the inevitable consequence, 3 different revolutionary groups had claimed responsibility for assisting the Quiet One's surgical strike. The moon base, which had actually been a mining operation, was being evacuated, and someone had already started selling commemorative holo cards of the crash.
You have to teach me how you do that,
Zara said, pulling up the news feeds.
Look, the Rukaria are withdrawing from the entire sector. They think you were sending a message about their expansion policies.
I was trying to find the radio!
Even better, they're saying your silence during the attack was the loudest statement of all.
Felix buried his face in his hands.
Why is this happening to me? Karma? Cosmic joke? Elaborate prank show?
Zara's ears twitched with amusement.
Honestly, at this point, I'm just along for the ride. Do you know what the bounty on you is up to? Please don't tell me. Enough to buy a small solar system. 2, if you're willing to accept a fixer-upper. I just want to go home. Yeah, about that.
Zara pulled up a star chart.
I've been trying to find Earth in the databases. Your planet is listed as either quarantined, destroyed, or fictional, depending on which source you check.
Felix looked up. Fictional?
One database has it listed as a cautionary tale invented to scare children. Apparently, your species' reputation for chaos is so severe that some scholars think you can't possibly be real.
But I'm right here.
Yes, and you've accidentally started 3 revolutions, crashed a diplomatic gift into a moon, and somehow made coffee into a weapon of mass destruction.
She paused.
Actually, I'm starting to see their point.
Before Felix could respond, alarms started blaring. Again.
Oh, what now?
He groaned.
The Clownfire mercenaries.
Zara checked the sensors.
They must have tracked us from... Why are you hiding under the table? Clowns? Space has clowns? They're not, actually. Well, okay, they are exactly what they sound like. Rogue entertainers turned assassins. They juggle grenades and make balloon animals out of...
Nope! Felix was already heading for the escape pods. Absolutely not. I have limits. Accidental terrorism? Fine. Fake assassination reputation? Whatever. But clowns? Space clowns? That's where I draw the line.
You can't just...
Zara watched in disbelief as he climbed into a pod.
That's not even armed. It's basically a metal coffin with thrusters.
Perfect. Coffins are clown-proof.
That's not... How would you even... Get back here!
But Felix had already launched, shooting away from the ship like a man-shaped distress signal, leaving Zara to face down a squad of heavily armed murder clowns alone. She sighed, checked her weapons, and opened a channel to the approaching ships.
This is Zara the Bloodclaw. The Quiet One has departed on urgent business. If you'd like to leave a message... We know he's with you!
The lead clown's voice was exactly as terrifying as expected. Cheerful murder with a hint of balloon animals.
Surrender the Quiet One now and we might juggle you to death quickly!
Zara glanced at the trajectory display. Felix's pod was careening toward an asteroid field, because of course it was.
Counteroffer,
she said.
You turn around now, and I won't tell him you interrupted his meditation.
His what?
You didn't know? The Quiet One meditates in the void, alone, in an unarmed pod. It's how he...
She scrambled for something suitably ominous.
Communes with the darkness between stars.
Silence on the channel. Then...
That's the most terrifying thing I've ever heard.
Right?
Zara was getting into it now.
Last time someone interrupted his void meditation, well, you heard about Vexar 9's moon?
More silence. In the distance, Felix's pod pinballed between asteroids like the universe's worst pinball.
We'll wait,
the clown finally said.
Tell the Quiet One we desire an audience. When he's done with the void and the communing.
I'll pass along the message.
The Clownfire ships retreated to a respectful distance, which gave Zara time to rescue Felix, who had somehow gotten his pod wedged between 2 asteroids and was pressing buttons at random.
I found the self-destruct,
he announced proudly as she docked.
At least I think it's the self-destruct.
It might be the air conditioning. Everything's labeled in Sanskrit for some reason.
Get back in the ship, you absolute disaster.
Did they leave? The clowns?
They're waiting for you to finish your void meditation.
My what?
Your new religious practice, apparently. Congratulations, you've accidentally invented space theology.
Felix climbed back aboard, still shaking from his clown encounter.
This can't get any worse.
Oh, sweet summer child. Zara patted his shoulder. We haven't even gotten to the part where you accidentally liberate the prison planet.
What?
Future tense, but given your track record,
She pulled up their route.
try not to touch anything when we get there.
The Fortress of Eternal Regret was considered escape-proof for 9 excellent reasons, all boring and over the top. Felix discovered a 10th reason it should have been escape-proof. The bathroom situation was criminally negligent.
I've been holding it for 6 hours,
He whispered to Zara as they were processed. They'd been captured during a routine inspection that was actually a clever trap. Well, clever until Felix accidentally activated their ship's party mode, complete with disco lights and a fog machine, turning their stealth approach into the galaxy's most obvious arrival.
Can you not?
Zara hissed back.
That's a biological imperative. Don't they have to provide facilities? Isn't that in the Geneva Convention? The what? Space Geneva Convention? No?
You guys don't have... Yeah, of course you don't. Oh. Felix doubled over as another wave of discomfort hit.
Oh god, the purple coffee was a mistake.
The guard processing them, a being that looked like someone had given steroids to an already upset filing cabinet, paused at Felix's display.
The Quiet One shows signs of distress,
it noted.
Perhaps the accommodation is not to his standards?
The accommodation is fine,
Felix squeaked.
the bathroom situation is not. Where's the...
He made vague gestures.
He speaks!
The guard's form rippled with excitement.
The Quiet One honors us with words. What wisdom do you?
Bathroom!
Felix doubled over.
Please.
The translator, helpful as always, announced,
The time of reckoning approaches. Release me, or face the consequences.
Every guard in the processing area took 3 steps back.
He threatens us with reckoning,
one whispered.
Just show him where the bathroom is,
Zara snapped, realizing where this was heading. But bureaucracy moved at its own pace, even in the face of biological warfare. Forms needed filing, protocols needed following. Felix needed a toilet. What happened next would be chronicled in no less than 17 different religious texts as the Unleashing. Felix, driven by desperation and purple coffee, made a break for it. He burst through the first door, a supply closet. The second, a break room where guards were playing cards. The third...
That's the master control room,
Zara said faintly as Felix disappeared inside. The sounds that followed included a crash, several beeps, one long, sustained alarm, what might have been crying, and an explosion, because of course. Then, silence. Then, every door in the Fortress of Eternal Regret opened simultaneously. Felix emerged from the control room, looking relieved in more ways than one. Behind him, sparks flew from a console that apparently controlled the entire prison's locking system.
Found it,
he announced, then noticed the chaos.
I may have bumped some things.
Behold!
A prisoner screamed, dropping to their knees.
The Quiet One has liberated us with but a gesture!
Actually, I was looking for...
Felix started.
He denies his divinity! Such humility!
And that's how the galaxy's most secure prison was undone by one man's urgent need for a toilet and his inability to read alien signage. The liberation of Fortress of Eternal Regret took less than an hour. Not the fighting. There was no fighting. The guards, convinced they were witnessing a divine jailbreak, simply stepped aside. Some saluted. One asked for an autograph. Felix, mortified by the whole situation, tried to explain what had actually happened. This made things worse.
I didn't mean to free anyone, he insisted as prisoners streamed past.
I was just...
He claims no credit.
An ex-inmate wept.
He liberates us and asks for nothing.
Please go back to your cells,
Felix begged.
He tests our resolve. We shall not fail you, Quiet One.
Zara found him 20 minutes later, sitting in the ruins of the control room with his head in his hands, while freed prisoners built a shrine around him from cafeteria trays and confiscated weapons.
So, she said conversationally, want to tell me how you accidentally hacked a military-grade security system?
There was a big red button labeled emergency release, Felix muttered. I thought it was the toilet flush. Everything else just cascaded from there.
The toilet flush.
It was a very confusing control room. She looked at the devastation. The opened cells, the celebrating prisoners, the guards taking selfies with the holy sight of Felix's bathroom break.
We need to leave, she decided. Now, before...
The Quiet One!
Captain Voren's voice boomed across the station's speakers.
I know you're there! Face me!
That happens,
Zara finished.
How did he get here so fast?
Felix was already moving, not out of courage, but because staying still during a crisis went against every anxious instinct in his body.
Exit? This way.
Zara grabbed his arm.
Try not to accidentally conquer anything on the way out.
I make no promises, Felix said, then immediately tripped over a mop bucket, sending it careening into a wall panel that started yet another electrical fire. Behind them, someone screamed.
He brings the cleansing flame! The prophecy speaks of this!
What prophecy?
Felix wailed as they ran.
The one they're probably writing right now,
Zara replied.
Duck!
Plasma fire seared overhead as Voren's forces arrived in full theatrical glory. The captain himself stood atop a hover platform, cape billowing, tattoos pulsing with seizure-inducing patterns.
Quiet One!
He called.
Your reign of terror ends here!
What reign of terror?
Felix squeaked from behind cover.
I've been here for less than an hour. I spent most of it in the bathroom.
The translator boomed.
Your concept of time amuses me. I have been here forever. I have been here for but a moment. I am the bathroom.
Even Voren paused at that one.
Did he just claim to be a bathroom?
One soldier whispered.
Why, it's metaphorical,
Another insisted.
He's saying he's essential to the flow of life?
Shut up and shoot!
Voren ordered. The firefight that followed was less a battle and more a catastrophic misunderstanding with weapons. Felix, trying to find cover, accidentally activated the station's emergency systems. All of them. Fire suppression clashed with artificial gravity fluctuations, while the PA system started playing what sounded like smooth jazz interpreted by dying computers. Prisoners joined the chaos, fighting for the Quiet One they'd known for all of 30 minutes. Guards switched sides mid-battle, convinced they were witnessing destiny. Voren's forces found themselves battling not an army, but a philosophical crisis with laser rifles. In the middle of it all, Felix and Zara made their way to the docking bay through a combination of blind luck and everyone else being too confused to stop them effectively.
There!
Zara pointed to their ship.
Just a little further and...
The explosion knocked them both flat. When the smoke cleared, the inevitable consequence was now the inevitable scrap heap.
My ship!
Zara stared at the wreckage.
That was my ship! I still had payments on that ship!
I'm sorry,
Felix said automatically, then noticed the intact vessel beside the wreckage.
What about that one?
That's Voren's personal yacht.
Well, he seems busy. And that's how they stole the compensating for something. Vorn's gold-plated, weapon-laden, hilariously over-designed personal transport.
Can you fly this?
Zara asked as they scrambled aboard.
I couldn't fly the last one. That's not a no.
Felix stared at the control panel, which looked like someone had bedazzled a pipe organ.
Okay, starting from first principles, this has to be the throttle.
It was not the throttle. It was the button that ejected all escape pods simultaneously while playing the Rukari national anthem.
Close enough!
Zara yanked another lever, and the ship lurched skyward, leaving behind a station in chaos, a captain in cardiac arrest, and a legend that grew with every retelling. As they broke atmosphere, Felix finally asked,
"Where are we going?"
"The archive planets,"
Zara decided.
"If we're going to find Earth and end this madness, we need real information. Not whatever fiction the databases are peddling."
Great. Fantastic. Love it. Felix gripped his seat as Zara's piloting made his stomach reconsider the purple coffee. What could possibly go wrong with that plan? Behind them, the Fortress of Eternal Regret completed its transformation into the galaxy's first combination prison break shrine revolution headquarters, while Captain Vorn stood in the ruins of his authority, watching his personal yacht disappear into hyperspace.
Sir,
His lieutenant ventured.
should we pursue?
Vorn's tattoos had given up on patterns and were now just flashing random colors like a broken screensaver.
Pursue?
He laughed, high and slightly hysterical.
You don't pursue a force of nature, Lieutenant. You batten down the hatches and pray it passes you by.
So we're giving up?
Giving up?
Vorn's grin was all teeth and no sanity.
Oh no, we're going to do something far more dangerous.
What's that, sir?
We're going to get ahead of him.
The archive planet didn't have a real name, just a designation. Repository Prime Central Alpha Core 001 Actual Final Version 2.3. That's not a name, Felix said as they approached. That's what I call my files when I've given up on organization.
"Welcome to galactic bureaucracy,"
Zara replied, navigating through the defense grid.
"The archive planet is run by the chroniclers. Think librarians, but with military funding and a species-wide compulsion to alphabetize everything."
Everything?
Everything. They tried to alphabetize time once. Tuesday comes before Thursday now in their capital city.
The planet itself looked like someone had carved a library into a sphere and given it an atmosphere. Spires of data storage pierced the clouds, connected by bridges that flickered with flowing information. Ships moved in predetermined patterns, following flight paths that probably made sense to someone who thought Dewey Decimal was a party drug.
"State your business."
A bored voice crackled over comms.
"Research,"
Zara answered.
"historical verification regarding Earth and the Terran exile."
A pause.
"Earth is filed under mythology, cautionary tales, probable hoaxes, and sandwich ingredients."
Sandwich ingredients? Felix asked.
"Someone misfiled Earth with Earthworm 2 centuries ago. They're still sorting it out."
The landing pad they were assigned to was the volatile information section between paradoxes, temporal, and recipes, Grandma's secret.
"Don't touch anything,"
Zara warned as they disembarked.
"The chroniclers take damage to information personally. Last person who spilled coffee on a data tablet got catalogued."
Catalogued?
They're in the reference section now, under cautionary examples, beverage related.
Felix pulled his hood up, trying to look inconspicuous. The purple coffee had worn off, leaving him jittery and hyper-aware of every sound. The archive planet hummed with a frequency that made his teeth itch. They were 3 steps into the main complex when the first chronicler spotted them. It looked like someone had stretched a praying mantis to human height and taught it the importance of proper filing. Its compound eyes reflected Felix's cloaked form in thousands of tiny images.
You,
it breathed, clutching its data tablets like holy relics.
the undocumented one.
The what now? Felix started, but Zara elbowed him.
He's here for research,
she said firmly.
Earth, Terran exile, location and verification.
The chronicler's head tilted at an angle that shouldn't have been possible without serious spinal injury.
The Quiet One seeks the origin, the first chaos, the planet that filed itself under Do Not Open.
Sure, yes, all of that, Felix agreed desperately. Can you just point us to the right section?
Follow!
The chronicler scuttled off at surprising speed, leaving them to jog after it through corridors lined with data crystals that whispered statistics at passerby. They passed sections labeled things like wars, justified and otherwise, dance crazes, regrettable, and things that seemed like a good idea at the time. Volume 1914.
Here!
The chronicler stopped at a vault door covered in warning signs in 17 languages. Felix could read exactly one of them, English, and it said, "Seriously, don't."
What's in there?
Zara asked.
The restricted files. Information too dangerous, too contradictory, or too poorly formatted for general access.
The chronicler produced a key that looked like it was made of crystallized anxiety.
The truth about Earth requires 17 forms, 3 blood samples, and a permission slip from someone who no longer exists.
Or
the Quiet One could simply...
The chronicler gestured at the door. Simply what?
Whatever it is you do, the thing with the explosions and the paradigm shifts.
Felix looked at the door, looked at Zara, looked back at the door. I'm not going to blow up your archive, he said firmly.
Of course not,
the chronicler agreed.
That would be filed under predictable outcomes. You'll do something far more interesting.
As if on cue, Felix's stomach growled, a deep, ominous sound that echoed in the corridor like a xenomorph with indigestion.
When did you last eat?
Zara asked. Oh, I had half a protein bar yesterday, maybe? Time is weird in space.
There's a cafeteria on level 7,
the chronicler offered.
Although the food is filed under nutritional substances, technically.
I'll take it, Felix decided. Can't search for Earth on an empty stomach. This would prove to be the worst decision since someone had suggested giving the Clownfire mercenaries grenades. Level 7's cafeteria was a monument to function over form. Gray walls, gray tables, gray food that might have been gray originally or just gave up on color out of solidarity. Felix approached the automated dispenser with the caution of someone who'd been betrayed by vending machines before. Let's see. Protein cube, ambiguous. Vegetable medley, theoretical. Soup, probably. He squinted at the options. Is there anything here not existentially uncertain?
Try the special,
Zara suggested.
It's filed under mistakes, culinary.
That's not encouraging.
It's honest.
Felix pressed the button for sandwich, attempted, and waited. The machine hummed, clicked, made a sound like a garbage disposal achieving sentience. Then it dispensed something that could charitably be called food if you'd never experienced joy. This is just 2 pieces of bread with a question mark drawn in sauce, Felix observed.
The sauce is extra,
the machine informed him in a voice like customer service giving up.
That'll be 12 credits.
12 credits for existential sandwich art?
15 credits. Price adjusted for complaints.
Felix fumbled for his credit chip, dropped it, bent to pick it up, and knocked over someone's tray in the process. The tray belonged to a chronicler. The chronicler had been carrying soup. The soup was hot. The soup was now airborne. Time slowed, as it often did during Felix's disasters. The soup traced a perfect arc through the air, each droplet catching the harsh cafeteria lighting like tiny scalding stars. Its trajectory was flawless, aimed directly at a wall panel marked, "Definitely not the main power coupling. Ignore this sign." "No," Felix breathed, reaching out as if he could call the soup back through sheer will. "Yes," the universe replied, because the universe had a sense of humor, and Felix was its favorite punchline. The soup hit the panel sparked, the spark found friends, the friends invited their extended family. The lights went out. The lights came back on, but wrong, strobing through colors that made everyone's brains itch. Then the real fun began. Every data crystal in the archives started singing. Not a pleasant song. Imagine if dial-up internet had a baby with a fire alarm and raised it on a diet of pure discord.
What did you do?
Zara shouted over the cacophony.
I bought a sandwich. How does buying a sandwich?
She was cut off as gravity decided to take a coffee break. Felix floated past, still clutching his question mark sandwich, looking like a man who'd accepted that the universe was personally out to get him.
The archives are reorganizing!
A chronicler shrieked, cartwheeling through the air.
Alphabetical order is collapsing! Categories are merging! Cooking and combat are becoming one!
That actually sounds kind of useful, Felix began, then noticed the data streams flowing through the air like neon snakes. Is that supposed to happen?
No!
Zara grabbed him as he floated by.
We need to get to the restricted files before...
A massive hologram materialized in the center of the cafeteria. Earth, in all its blue-green glory, spinning slowly like the world's most expensive screensaver.
Is that?
Felix stared.
The real Earth data?
Zara breathed.
It's been here all along, just... misfiled under sandwich ingredients!
The first chronicler finished, looking like it was experiencing religious ecstasy and a nervous breakdown simultaneously.
The Quiet One has revealed the truth through soup!
The hologram flickered, displaying information that scrolled past too fast to read completely, but Felix caught fragments. Earth, status, active. Quarantine reason. Viral media platform TikTok achieved sentience. Danger level. Yes. Inhabitants. Chaos entities in biological form. Warning. Do not expose to caffeine. Special note. If found, do not give them spreadsheets. See incident report Excel Uprising of 2157.
I need to get home,
Felix said faintly.
My planet needs me. Or needs to be protected from me?
I'm honestly not sure which after reading that. Before anyone could respond, the cafeteria's emergency systems finally kicked in, but they'd been affected by the data merge. Instead of foam, the sprinklers released historical facts. Instead of alarms, motivational quotes played at deafening volume. Believe in yourself, the speaker screamed as gravity restored itself with enthusiasm, dropping everyone to the floor. Your potential is unlimited. They continued as the sandwich dispenser achieved sentience and began pelting people with existential food. Live, laugh, love, they concluded as the hologram of Earth exploded into a map showing its exact location, coordinates burning themselves into every surface like the universe's most aggressive GPS. Felix lay on the floor, question mark sandwich somehow intact, watching his home planet's location sear itself into the ceiling. "So," he said to no one in particular, "I found Earth."
"And broke an entire planet's filing system in the process,"
Zara added, pulling him to his feet.
"We need to go, now, before—"
The Quiet One has given us a new purpose!
The chroniclers had formed a circle around them, compound eyes glittering with fanatical joy.
No more shall we merely record. We shall create chaos worth documenting.
"That's not really what Felix tried.
He speaks! Quickly, document his wisdom! I just wanted lunch! Sustenance before revolution! So profound!
Zara dragged him toward the exit as the archive planet descended into productive chaos. Chroniclers ran wild, creating new filing systems based on soup temperature, organizing data by emotional impact, and cataloging everything under things the Quiet One made possible. They made it to Voron's stolen yacht just as the first chronicler reached the communications array.
Where are they going to broadcast our location?
Felix asked as they took off.
"Everywhere,"
Zara said grimly.
"Everyone. The location of Earth revealed by the Quiet One himself through the medium of soup and sandwich acquisition."
That's not... I didn't... It was an accident.
"Felix?"
She turned to look at him.
"At this point, I don't think it matters. Whatever you are, chaos incarnate, probabilities punishment, or just the unluckiest human alive, you've just changed the galaxy."
I changed it badly.
"Debatable."
She plotted a course for Earth, using the coordinates now probably tattooed on every conscious being within 50 light-years.
"The chroniclers were stagnating. The archive planet was becoming a tomb of information. You gave them purpose."
Chaotic purpose.
"The best kind."
She paused.
"Although we should probably get you home before you accidentally achieve godhood."
Can that happen?
"Felix, you turned soup into a religious experience. Anything can happen."
As they jumped to hyperspace, neither of them noticed the small fleet of ships already converging on Earth's location. Captain Voron's forces, the Clownfire mercenaries, the grateful prisoners of eternal regret, the Arknari Syndicate, and dozens of others, all racing to witness what would happen when the Quiet One returned to the world that had created him. The galaxy held its breath. Earth, blissfully unaware, continued rotating. And somewhere in the cosmic filing system, under disasters impending and cross-referenced with homecomings ill-advised, a new entry appeared. The Quiet One goes home.